How's it going, guys? Peshkat's here, and I'm here with my good friend Mike Cheng, who just got back from the Nationals. And he played the Osomatsu Brothers and ended up getting third place. And so this is going to be like a tournament report slash reflections on like card choices and matchup insight and things like that. So first off, first question I guess we'll ask is, what did you expect to play going into the tournament, and like what cards did you prepare for those matchups?
For the tournament preparation, I mostly expected Triad Primus or variants of CG. I also expected a lot of Tulavru. Probably expected some variant of like OG IMAS here and there. And then I also prepared for the Milky matchup. I think those four were the ones I prepared for. Then in Kantai, did I mention Kantai? Kantai. Kantai with Hippie choice. So expecting those decks, I chose Osomatsu after playtesting with like other decks like CG and Kiznaiver a bit. Decided Osomatsu was the most stable, and it had good matchups against all of those decks I just mentioned. So that's why I went with Osomatsu.
Okay, so what cards are there? Any like cards that you'd say like are by themselves like a really big problem for this deck? So like I know Mikon.
Yeah, so like the biggest problem that this deck faces is if your opponent gets out anti-salvage. So I wasn't expecting Hatsukaze choice at all, so I felt really comfortable choosing Osomatsu because people just they wouldn't choose Hatsukaze choice because
It's always like Hibiki.
Hibiki will always be better in a tournament format because so many decks rely on early drop healers to win the game, and so little decks rely on gates and salvaging nowadays that Osomatsu is just like really well, like it fits really well in this current like mindset of tournament competitive decks. And against Tulavru, Mikon anti-salvage is 500 power, so if you run...
So we'll get into the first tech. Okay, so first of all, here is the full list. If you guys want like individual details on the card, we'll just like run through it really quick. So at level 3, we have 4 of the like heal to stock Karamatsu, 2 clock shooter, 1 healer, 1 Jushimatsu. Level 2, 3 of the rest counter. 1 anti-change suicider, 2 this is the stock event, right?
Yeah, handshake ticket.
It's like
send a Matsu character from waiting room to stock, give a character 2000 power, and then send this event to stock.
So you basically get 2 stock and you give 2k buff for -1 hand.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is actually pretty good because like if you combo this with like the like Akashi clone, then it basically just becomes a free search and give 2k.
Yeah.
1 3 5 counter, right?
3/5 counter, just on when you play the counter, give a battling Matsu character 1000 2/5 counter.
Level 1s, 4 of the Climax combo, 3 suiciders, 1 level support, 1 counter. And then level 0, of course you have to have 4 of the girl, you have to have 4 Karamatsu, and then 3 runner, 2 of the like Akashi clone, 2 pay 1 clock 1 on play salvage 1.
Yeah, salvage any Matsu.
Yeah, 2 brainstorm, and then here's our first like tech choice. So this Osomatsu.
Yeah, preparing for Tulavru specifically, if you look at the list without this card, the matchup for like Osomatsu versus Tulavru is probably really favored towards Tulavru because their late game is Mika Yami, which you can't target with your rest counter, and they also have anti-damage, which screws you over really badly, and then they have anti-salvage at level 1. So if you salvage with your Jushimatsu combo, you're not going to do any damage to them. So that's where this card comes in. Unless the Tulavru player specifically plays Mikon, like 1 Mikon back row, 1 Mikon front row, or they play the 1/1 Yami and the Mikon front row, they're not going to be able to play around this. So you prepare for that matchup by grabbing this or like searching it out with like the Brainstormer, the search to Akashi, pay 1, clock yourself salvage, or the Akatsuki.
You dig.
Yeah, you dig for this card really badly in preparation for when you play Jushimatsu. You play this card alongside it, so then you can salvage while dealing damage. After that, as long as you can get the damage in while you salvage, the matchup turns really heavily towards your favor because you compress a lot more than they do. And then they have trouble pushing damage while you don't, in my opinion. You push damage harder than they do. It makes the matchup a lot more, much more feasible, and makes it like probably 50-50 to 55-45, Osomatsu favored.
Okay. So as far as some of the other matchups that you mentioned, TP was a big one. So we have this is one card that comes to mind, I guess, when
Yeah.
I guess you want to get rid of the
Yeah, so like the TP Osomatsu matchup in general, I'd say is favored towards Osomatsu. The powers really line up towards your favor when you play the Jushimatsu. For example, if they set up their field of 7k, 8k, 7k walls with Rin and Now, then with the Jushimatsu, and as long as you have like a global support and like maybe a brainstorm, your characters will be 8k, 8.5, 8k. Or
you also have these.
Yeah, you also have Suiciders. You contest really well with the TP's board. You make them spend a lot of resources that you normally don't want to spend on playing more characters to like attack with. And also, you can play around their Stoxo combo if you play smart at level 1, at level 0 by you playing the runner. Level 2, they play their early drops and then you respond with the Ichimatsu to counter their TP Rin in the middle lane. And then you just compress more and set up your resources. You want to accumulate these, accumulate the clock shooters, accumulate the 2/3 rest counter. Some people only play 2 of the rest counter, but 3 is really, really important because you want to draw it and you want to hold it. It basically makes their final power Smile Rin turn, like, they can't kill you, like, at all, unless you get really, really unlucky with not canceling.
And that definitely happened in tournament.
Yeah. That's the general strategy with it, and it works in practice. I've played this matchup like probably 20-30 times, and it's really, really favored as long as you play it correctly in Osomatsu's favor.
Okay, so let's see. Other matchups you mentioned. Milky, this card handles like
Milky is like their Ellie is 500 power, so you just nuke it, and then
that too. This kills Ellie on the spot.
Yeah, you nuke Ellie, and then their stock gen combo. The 1/0 just dies to your Suiciders.
Yeah.
And overall, Milky is like a good matchup against a lot of other decks, such as TP, because they can't get over your like 10-5, 11k walls. But Osomatsu has like no trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't face Milky at all, but expecting Milky, this was a good deck to choose.
Yeah. Fun fact. You play Milky. If they play that Restander, rip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there is like a OG IMAS with like the I-Wands into Haruka Burn.
Yeah.
And you kill off-time Makoto, so then the I-Wands die to Suiciders.
Oh, again.
Yeah.
Right here.
And then also when you play the Jushi combo, if you kill off-time, then you can comfortably kill the first I-Want, and then the second I-Want, you can make them use the counter or just use the Suicider. So their board dies really easily, and then level 2 they play the early drop. I think it's Mami. Is it Ami or Mami? Mami?
Ami.
Yeah, early drop Ami, and then you just respond with this card.
The one that mitigates, or the one that top checks.
Top checks. The top check Ami.
Yeah.
You just kill it with this card, and then hopefully by then they don't have enough resources to like comfortably play Haruka Burn, but if you do, you have the rest counter. So it's like pretty hard to play around the rest counter in most of the modern decks. Like you have to bounce a character or kill a character, remove a character from the field in order for you to not fulfill the full field requirement for the 2/3 counter. It's pretty well placed in like so-called quote-unquote modern top-tier decks.
All right, so let's move on to what you did run into.
All right.
So matchups, 7 games total, 5 rounds of Swiss.
Yeah, it's 5 rounds of Swiss into top 16 cut. My first round I faced against AOT. I think it was red, yellow, splash green with Mikasa Stoxel, Mikasa Gate, and Levi Goldbar. I got Climax screwed. I was really, really Climax screwed, and my opponent just canceled really well. And even with the Katskis, there was nothing I could do. Game was too far gone, so I lost the first round. Thankfully for me, Nationals was double elim, so which means that you have to lose 2 to get knocked out of the tournament. And thankfully for me, that was the case, so I could just win the rest of my games and go to top 16 that way. But the first round was like a tragedy in and of itself. The second round I played
Sword Art
against Sword Art. It was just a meta Yuki Shinong Gobar book, and that game was going pretty poorly for me because I climaxed flooded again, It wasn't as bad as the first one, but it was still pretty bad nonetheless. Unfortunately for my opponent, he early played Kirito at level 2 without blue and drew his top 2 cards, so then he got DQ'd. So that was unfortunate. The third game I played against TP, and it seems like my opponent just couldn't get anything. I think he Climax flooded as well. Unfortunately, all these like early games that were Climax floods instead of regular games, but he Climax flooded. Plus, the matchup was good for me, so like he never had a chance. I think I won pretty convincingly.
Woo, best of one Weiss.
Yep. Fourth game was also TP. That was like the first regular game.
Was this the Audrey game?
Yeah, I played against Audrey S from the
Ileana
group. The game was pretty normal as far as I could remember. She played her 7k, 8k beaters. I responded with Jushimatsu and killed them, and then we just traded resources back and forth. And then she got to level 3, tried to play her TP restands, and then I rest countered it, and then she died.
Yeah, sounds like what you would expect.
Yeah,
from
it was like book by book, like textbook play of like how I expected matchup to go, and it went that way. Like she played early play Rin, I killed it with Ichimatsu. She tried to double strike, she couldn't double strike.
Yep.
So, the next round, I think this is the final round of Swiss. I was 3-1 going into this round. I played against Nisekoi. It was Weapon Daughter Splash Red for Marika with pendants.
With Suicider.
With the Marika Suiciders. That was kind of like a cool thing I didn't expect. Having played the Weapon Daughter deck a lot myself, I knew how to play against it, so they went first with a Chitoge runner, and then I slammed down 3 zeros and just hit them. And then they couldn't respond, so then I just kept hitting them with the zeros. They couldn't get enough stock to like comfortably go into level 2, and then I rushed into 3, and then I don't think they could even get Marika out. It was just like pretty one-sided, because biggest weakness of Weapon Daughter is not being able to build stock at level 0, and they couldn't build stock. Had like 1 pendant and a cancel branch Chitoge and a top Chitoge for the final turn, and then I just killed them.
Yeah, I heard there was also some like Suicider.
Yeah, oh yeah, they played this the Marika Suicider and then top checked a Chitoge, added to hand, discarded card, and then rammed into my 1-0 and then said suicide. And he had no pendant, so there was no suicide effect going on there.
Yeah.
The game was just really unfavored towards the opposing player because he couldn't set up enough resources to like play all the stuff he wanted. The deck is really stock heavy, so after that it was top cut. I was 4-1 going to top cut, and overall like I was really surprised by the number of TPs that didn't make it, because there were a lot of CG players, and I think only Kobe made it, like the 1 CG blue-red good stuff build. And 3 out of the 4 Osomatsus made it, which was like pretty unexpected yet expected at the same time. If you know how to play Osomatsu really well, then it has a really good matchup against most decks. And then there were like a bunch of 1-offs, which best of 1 format. So after like waiting for a bit for deck checks and like dinner break, we started top cut. My top 16 match was against Abyssal. They were playing Pants and Gold Bar.
So Hoppo and Restand?
Yeah, Hoppo and Restand. I played the matchup as I would like the previous one, where I just rushed them, because I had a lot of tools to like recover hand. Like I had the pay 1 clock myself, salvage. I had multiple girls to search out Jushimatsu with the gate in hand, so I could afford to play a bunch of zeros and then recover to kill their board. They made a really big misplay at level 1 where they leveled blue and then clocked blue for some reason, and then their whole hand was like Hoppo and Akatsuki. So
shoutouts to Nick Micken, don't play Abyssal.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate on the other end. They tried to play Hoppos and the judge noticed it.
For the record, this was not Nick Micken. I just take shots at Nick.
Yeah. After that, they tried to build themselves out by using the pay 1 clock yourself, search for Abyssal effect, but then they also clocked blue, so that turn they only attacked with 1 level 0. After that, they couldn't recover. Like, it was just like a ruffle stomp. They had like no stock to play anything. Had to 3-stock a level 3 to push damage in the final turn, but that just rest countered and stuff. Kept healing with Karamatsu, and wasn't really a real game. Top 8, I faced off against Kobe, who's like one of our good friends. He played CG, good stuff with Minami Gate and Uzuki, Minami Pants, Uzuki Gate. And that was one of the most insane games, like, ever.
Oh, I just realized I said 7 games earlier. It was 9 games. 9 games total.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kobe.
Basically, long story short, I canceled a bunch, he canceled a bunch. We both canceled a bunch, and then we're both players that really rely on compression and canceling, and then we would sacrifice resources to get more compression and canceling. So, I think the game lasted for like 45-50 minutes. In Top Cut, you don't really get time called. You don't get time called because they don't want you to be feel pressured into making bad plays. But long story short, I canceled a bunch, he canceled a bunch, and then at 3-6, I healed off 6 damage. And then the game went on for like 6 more turns, which was insane. Because when I was at 3-6, he was at like 2-4, 2-5. And then I kept canceling, he kept canceling. Eventually it got to a point where like he couldn't play more characters because he had no more stock. Because he played a 2-3 rest counter to rest my Karamatsu to prevent me from healing. And then I was at like 3-0 into like 3-2 into 3-4 into like 3-5 for like 3 to 4 turns. And then he was like 2-5, 3-0, 3-2, 3-1, 3-4. And then the final turn I killed him with like 2s.
So basically this was the game.
This was like the game, right? It was, none of the players got Climax screwed. Everyone like did their game plan. His deck has Akatsuki, my deck has Akatsuki. We could both like manipulate our decks to our will. And just like a crazy game all around. Like multiple Rin healer early drops were played. Multiple Udukis and Anastasias were played. 2-3 rest counter was played on both sides. He got his Minamis off. I got my Jushimatsus off. Just like everyone did what they wanted to do and canceled a bunch. So eventually it came out to like who could outlast the opponent, and Karamatsu does that pretty well. So next is round of 4 against Del Segno, which I thought was a pretty favored matchup. Which I still think is the case, but it turned out pretty bad. I went first. It was the first time in like the entire tournament where I went first. Played like an Akatsuki, I think, and then swung with it. Next turn, he plays the 0-0 Hazuki Clock Swapper, and then you can pay 1, send it to memory to Akatsuki for Kazuna Island. He played that in the back row to Clock Swap, and then he played the hat that searches out the yellow girl in front row and direct attacked. Next turn, I play this card. Kill his back row, 500, and then play over it with this card, salvage this, and kill his hat. And then by that point, I was like, alright, this is pretty good. This is going pretty well. And then, like, nothing went right after that. Like, I never drew my gate. I had, like, really bad compression because I triggered everything. And then I couldn't punish his, like, baddies because I prepared for Jushimatsu instead of the Suiciders, so that he had 1065 sticking around for longer than I would have liked. He also canceled a lot. And ultimately that came down to his final turn was playing the Chunibyo Climax combo with Pants and then like 2 other level 0s. And then he attacked with the Chunibyo. I rested one of the zeros. I canceled the Chunibyo attack and then got burned for 1 off of his Climax mill. And then he swung for 2 while I was at 3-4, and then triggered 1 for lethal, and I died.
Rip. The Chunibyo ability, it gives on reverse, no?
Yeah, it's on play of the Climax. You pay 1 and then give herself and another character. When you reverse a character, that turn you can mill 3.
So basically, it wouldn't have done anything on the level 0.
No, he was playing it to mill for the Chuni.
Okay.
Because I had like a level 1 and 2 level 3s. He was killing the level 1.
And then you ate it.
And then I ate it. It was like I wasn't really compressed to begin with because of how the game was going. I had like 3 left in like 10 cards, so chances of me dying were like around 50-50, and I lost the 50-50. That was top 4. And then my 3rd, 4th match was against Madoka. It was a yellow, red, green build. With 2 souls. Yeah, with the Mami stock soul, level 1 Climax combo on attack, pay 1 Akatsuki plus 2k, and then she played red 2 souls, just for 2 souls. Pretty unique deck. Fit her playstyle really well in punishing like greedy plays with 2 soul. Thankfully for me, everything from my end went pretty well. Compressed a bunch, her 2 souls didn't stick, and then she died. It was a pretty normal game. She played her level 3s and they didn't kill me, and then I played my level 3s and killed her with clock shoot.
Right.
So that was the tournament. Got 3rd overall.
Got a piece of paper.
Got a piece of paper. I can put it next to my other piece of paper.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So how about a bit of retrospect? Anything that you didn't run that you want to explain some cards why you didn't run?
Okay, so
the biggest one that jumps out to me is the 2/1 anti-change, the yellow count.
Yeah, so there's a couple cards that are really good on Osomatsu that I chose not to run. One of them is, like you mentioned, the 2/1 anti-change counter. My problem with that card is that it's off name. Like it's not Matsu, so you can't get it with anything in the deck other than the gate. I also didn't think it was worth it to pay the cost to kill one of their level 3s and send it to stock because I could just out-compress them and then kill the level 3s with my anti-change Ichimatsu Suicider. I also just wanted to make the deck more consistent, and that card really didn't do it for me half the time when I had it and I could use it in playtesting. I just didn't want to. Other choices that I chose not to run, a popular card is a 2/2 Karamatsu. If you have 4 or more Matsus on the field, you can early play at -1 level, and then it becomes like a 9/5 beater. On paper, it's really, really good against OG IMAS and CG IMAS because you get comfortably out of the counter range. It kills the I want Harukas, and also like the side 7k Rins and Karens? Nows. Rins and Nows.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that the stock investment was worth it. I play this deck as if it's a really, really heavy compression deck. Eventually, after I play my Jushimatsus, I just stopped caring about board and just like ramp things in and let them direct attack me and cancel a bunch. I don't think the 2/2 fit the role of that deck very well, despite it being like a good like level 1 killer. Another option was the 2/1 level support, global level support, like the multi-skill Kiyama.
That's the Climax combo one.
Yeah, it has a Climax combo. We can pay 1 search, but I don't run it. I just run it for the global level assist.
Right.
That's what I ran at regionals, but eventually I got convinced to change it to the 1/1 here, which is front level assist, 500 per level to a Matsu character.
And then tap your 1k.
And then tap himself, give 1k. My original thinking was that the global level assist would be better if I had a full field of the Karamatsus and the clock shooters, but eventually those cases became so fringe that like I would have rather had the 1k to buff my Jushimatsus, and ended up working well. It didn't really matter which one I used, but that was the decision behind that. Another option that I think the second place uses also, as well as the other top 16 Matsu, was the 1/1 5/5 that can't get reversed by cost zeros. I think that's a pretty good meta comp, but then again, it kind of fit into my reasoning of I don't want to play 2/2 Karamatsu because it spends stock I don't want to spend and decompresses my deck on beating board I don't really care about beating.
Or in this case, just
Or
not getting beat by board.
Yeah.
When you don't care about getting beat
I really
by board.
didn't just like after my level 1 game, I just don't care about the board at all. I want to trade resources evenly, but I care about fixing my own deck state more than I care about killing their board. And you have a lot of ways to kill the board either way, because you can always salvage Suiciders, you can always salvage anti-level Suiciders if you really want to. So that was why I didn't play the 1/1. And other than that, I think the Osomatsu deck, like this gold bar gate, is pretty static. You have like the core like 35-40 cards that you would always run. Second place, I think, ran only 3 Karamatsus, and he ran 3 Brainstormers and 3 Globals. And he ran 2 Jushimatsu 3/2s, ran 2 Healers, and only 1 Clock Shoot. And then he didn't run Handshake Ticket, and then he ran a 1/135 Event Counter instead. I thought those were pretty unique choices. The only one I thought that was really like wrong question mark is
running less than 4 of the Karamatsu.
You definitely want to run 4 Karamatsu, and I think 2 Clock Shooter is definitely good because they give you a chance to clock shoot twice, and they dig for a gold bar and 2/3 counter. there's a lot of synergy going on with like 2-3 counter, 3-2 Karamatsu, the clock shooter, and the handshake ticket. That makes this like top end like really, really insane. And people should like try to run this card more. I don't think.
Which one? The ticket?
Yeah, the ticket. The ticket is like MVP. There's going to be a lot of times where you're level 2 and then you play the Jushimatsu and then you're going to be overhand. And this just allows you to get over things and be more compressed. And then level 3, you can play it on the clock shooter and get more stocks. So then it fulfills the 6 or more stock requirement and pumps it up by 2k. So you're like guaranteeing a clock shoot. So this card's really good. I don't think a lot of people ran that card. Other choices, I only chose to run one of this because it's like pretty fringe. You just want it for the heal. Don't really care about the early drop effect. And I
hear that a lot from Osomatsu players, is that they don't really care about the early play. They just like, it's a heal.
Yeah. And I considered taking this card out. Really glad I didn't. Saved me in top 8. I think it was like the second time in like 500 games where I got this off. Like, no joke.
You've easily gotten like Exodia off more than you've gotten.
Yeah, I've gotten Exodia off more than this card. But, yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I think most people do run the runners. Most people run 4 of this. And they run like the globals. They run the pay 1 clock yourself, salvage. Second place didn't run this, which I thought was weird. I think I overheard him talking to another player, asking him about how to play the Tularu matchup because they have anti-heal. And then
anti-salvage.
No, anti-salvage, yeah. And then their response was just to push damage. But then in my head I was like, you have this juicy guy. Angry reacts only. So, yeah. Beat Tularu matchup using this card is pretty easy. Makes a 70-30 matchup their favor to like 40-60 your favor. So.
Okay. Do you have any just like regrets about stuff that you think you could have run that made the deck better?
No. I don't think so. This was a list that I tested for a long time. I think over the past 4 or 5 months I've only put Osomatsu and TP like religiously just to test for like regionals and nationals. And this was the list I was most comfortable with. Like I would have no regrets either way. And only changes that I possibly could have made is like maybe 2 of the -500, but in hindsight it wouldn't have mattered. This card honestly makes several bad matchups extremely good matchups based on like what we said earlier in the video. It's just like way too good of a card not to run. It's like the MVP of this entire set.
For the record, Mike and I made a graphic of stuff that's relevant cards that this kills.
Yeah. It's pretty insane how many like useful things you actually kill with this deck. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Here, I'll give you a sneak preview. All right, this is how much stuff that this Osomatsu kills. As you can see, we have the Mikon, the SSSSSSSSS tier. So there are a lot of cards that die to this Osomatsu and subsequently Kaiki, and the Kaiki one's the meme. But like this. For this, the context of this deck, like this actually really like isn't a meme. And
Kaiki also has a lot more restrictions than that. It's level 1 and it's green, whereas in like Monogatari, you're not always going to have those conditions. Whereas this card is level 0 and costless. Like at level 0, you can play it without color requirement, which makes this card like 100 times more insane than Kaiki. Because a lot of times, for example, in Milky, they're going to play their 0-0 Ellie in preparation for getting to level 1 and then using their Akatsuki effect. Or you just nuke it. Or they play their off-time Makoto in front of the runner and you just nuke it.
Behind the runner.
Behind the runner, and then you nuke it. Or they play their Mikon Anti-Salvage to have 2 characters to brainstorm that turn and just nuke it. It's a pretty good card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that pretty much wraps it up. So, yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I don't think I would have changed anything about the deck. I think the deck is pretty good where it stands given the current sets out and what I expect to face. My choices going to nationals were either TP, red green, or red blue, or Osomatsu.
Red green.
Red green.
Oh baby.
Oh boy. All right. But I'm glad I chose Osomatsu. Glad I stuck it out with the bros. Turned out to be the right decision, as like a lot of people were expecting TP and correctly played around it. Around as in like they could expect what TP has and play properly, whereas Osomatsu, I think still a lot of people were like, they didn't really know what Osomatsu did, didn't really know what the cards at level 3 could do, didn't prepare for it well enough.
It also helps if your opponent doesn't know what their own cards do.
Yeah. So
Nationals.
it's definitely the set that helped out a lot, not only because of the set being good, but because people just don't have as much playtesting.
It's the huge sleeper.
Yeah. I think out of my 9 matches, like 3 or 4 of them had to ask what my cards did, like every single one of them. So don't sleep on this set. It's pretty good.
Yeah. This card's like, why?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways.
So there we go. This has been the tournament report from Nationals with Mike Cheng. Do you have any, like, you want to shout out JKTCG?
I'm good. I don't need to shout out JKTCG, the best place to buy English singles on the entire World Wide Web.
Oh! All right. And, yeah. See you next time, guys. Bye.